if you love Moomin, live the Moomin way every day, you know, and I try to remind myself that. My name is Myles. I live in West Philadelphia right now, but I'm in town for the weekend. I grew up in Williamsburg in Brooklyn. My first encounter with the Moomins, at least one that I have like evidence of, was receiving a copy of like the serialized comics, one of the volumes of those comics from my mom and dad for, I believe, my 9th birthday. My parents are artists, both of them. My dad is especially interested in like comics, makes comics himself. My parents are also both public artists, so I know that they, you know, sort of respect Tove Jansson's like mural work as well. So, you know, the sort of like idea of like a well-rounded artist who does a lot of sort of works in a lot of sort of different mediums. And I was also like a big reader and a big fan of comics as well. So I think it was a real natural fit. Not until really recently did I start sort of understanding Tove as like more than just a children's book author for sure. But I picked up like a copy of her like short stories for adults as well. Her work is so like cohesive across all these different mediums. Like I'm really impressed by and the way that like the themes are so consistent in all of her work, but this sort of like ethos of communal living and like harmony with nature, but also a sort of like, I don't know, this real like ennui, and kind of like not like living with that sort of like existential sort of engagement with being alive is really interesting, and how she doesn't like dumb that down for children. And just before this, I was like rereading that like first volume of comics that I got from my parents, and yeah, I was just like, wow, this really speaks to like this precise moment that I'm in. There's this story where Moomin gets his first house, or I guess he builds his first house, and he's like bickering with his girlfriend. They are moving into their first house together, and I'm like, oh my gosh, it's so interesting that like I am just like, oh, I totally relate to like arguing with your partner about how to decorate your first apartment together. But obviously that was not sort of like what I was getting out of reading it as a 10-year-old. Little My was always my favorite as a kid, just because she's so like outrageously petulant and just like bratty, but also she never seems to be just like causing chaos for no reason. Like it's always to kind of like move the story towards its like moral arc, which I really like and appreciate, and I guess like maybe I thought of myself as that as a kid. I've always loved the character of Moomin Mama too. Like people are always like, you know, trying to take her on some crazy adventure, and she's always like, all right, I'll wait until the chaos is over and dinner will be ready when you guys come home. But then she has her moments of also kind of being like, her little moments of rebellion too. As I get older, I relate to that a little bit more too. I think Moomintroll really is like, I relate a lot to him with this moment that I'm at in my life, sort of like trying to figure out how to bridge the gap between like being your parents' kid, but also like wanting to make it out on your own. And everything feels like a humongous deal all of the time, and then you kind of are reminded that what the real reason of it all is, which is, you know, just to be kind to the people around you and have a little bit of fun. People in my life know me as someone who loves Moomin, so I think for probably most, if not all, of like birthdays or housewarmings, I've gotten some kind of Moomin something. So like my cats eat off of Moomin plates, and I have a Moomin bowl that I eat my oatmeal in, and Moomin mugs, and when people travel, especially in Japan or in like Northern Europe, there's always like specialty Moomin stuff that my friends or family will bring back for me, which I really appreciate. I carry my Snork Maiden keychain around. She's seen better days, but she was a gift. And then I have, yeah, every house I've moved into in my adult life, I've taken my collection of Moomin books with me. Ones I received when I was younger, ones I bought for myself later, and then yeah, like Tove Jansson's literature for adults. Moomin has had like a bit of a boom at least in like the American audience, especially among people like my age, kind of like millennial, Gen Z. Personally, my partner didn't know anything about Moomin like at all before. The first time that we ever talked, they were working at a coffee shop, and they noticed my Moomin tattoo, like not knowing that it was Moomin related. They were just like, oh, I like that tattoo. And I was like, oh, do you know about the Moomins? And they hadn't ever heard of them before. So on our first date, I brought them a Moomin comic. And now they're really into Moomin as well. But so I can thank Tove Jansson for, as a queer elder, bringing that into fruition for me. A friend of mine did it shortly after we moved to Philadelphia. It's a stick and poke, just like out of our apartment. Moomintroll and Snork Maiden are painting their apartment. Lil Mai is kind of trolling them. People ask me if it's an onion sometimes, but she does look like a little onion. My partner, shortly after they got introduced to the Moomins, they make lino cut stamps, so they made this for me. Time I ever thought about, or like really sort of like discovered anything about Tove's like backstory and personal life was, I think actually in a New Yorker article. Maybe I was in college, it was maybe like 5 or 6 years ago, and it was when her like a collection of her letters had been published, and I remember reading an excerpt from one of her letters in that article that was talking about her sort of like first like falling in love with another woman, and I don't think that this is an exact quote, but it's something along the lines of like it's the most natural thing in the world. I'm a historian, I work at a museum, and it's always this sort of like cool thing when you accidentally encounter someone living really, really freely as a queer person at a time when I think like the general consensus is that it was very dangerous and sort of secret. Feelings are universal over time, and the sort of experience that people have of their own lives is quite consistent over time for a lot of people, and finding like evidence of that is really powerful, and sort of just a reminder that like, yeah, no matter what you're up against historically, like being able to sort of like express how naturally some kind of like attraction to another person or to you know, a creative pursuit or to a way of life is really, it's really inspiring and really cool. My family is Taiwanese, so there's a lot of sort of like overlap between like Japanese and Taiwanese culture. That's like somewhat of how my mom sort of encountered the Moomins, was through that connection. But yeah, I feel like my friends and family and my partner was in Denver, and they sent me a photo of like a Moomin display at Barnes & Noble, I think, and it's just kind of funny to like encounter Moomin in the wild like that. And also, I remember a couple years ago on like Instagram or Tumblr or something, there was the meme of like Moomintroll with the knife going around, and that was just kind of funny to see like Moomin being like memified as well, and as sort of this like anti-establishment, like anti-capitalist like icon. Yeah, seeing like Moomin keychains on people's bags and stuff, it's cute, yeah. I saw that there was an exhibition at the Brooklyn Public Library, and like immediately was like, I gotta go. Because yeah, again, like I work in museums and libraries, and I love Moomin and I love Brooklyn, so it's like immediate going. They did an incredible job. I'm also so excited to see like a younger generation of readers and New Yorkers getting introduced to Moomin through like such an important resource, our public library. And then also like from an exhibit design perspective, I don't design for children's museums, but I love the idea of like an interactive sort of like world building in an exhibit. I think that they did an incredible job with this incredible sort of world that Tove Jansson built through the Moomins. I think like just as there is in the source material, there's something kind of for like little kids up through academic-y sort of people that are interested in, yeah, like queer theory or like art history or like media history or things like that. Yeah, it's an incredible exhibit. I actually, maybe I should go back while I'm here. Yeah. While all of the plushies and like, you know, sort of like material things that I love seeing around and seeing people like having Moomin things, I think like, you know, remembering the sort of like key themes in the, you know, in I think the Moomin universe of you know, like sharing and like you know, of community and relationship to other people, and to your own imagination being sort of the most important thing. You know, the most precious thing that we have in our lives, is what I would love to see, like, people taking away from this, like, Moomin resurgence. And I need to remind myself that too, you know, that, you know, the artwork and the sort of like, you know, the imagery is so important as well, and it's so beautiful and so rich, and it's so fun to look at. But you know, if you love Moomin, like, live the Moomin way every day, you know, and I try to remind myself that. Yeah.